And so the evil eye of Deuteronomy chapter 15, and this is its place, its only place in Torah, is the evil eye of Deuteronomy 15 is to cast a look at someone for whom you're pretty sure doesn't deserve the goodness or the favor that you have. I want to fast forward that into the life and ministry of Jesus, because I believe that Jesus is working with a course book that his disciples understand. They understand this. They were raised on it. Jesus then tells the story in Matthew chapter 20 of a employer who goes out into the marketplace at sunup and hires day laborers. Day laborers are the men who stood at the city gate awaiting anyone who needed work in their field, and they would hop into the wagon and ride out to the field and harvest the field all day long for an agreed upon wage, which in Roman days was usually called the denarius or the denarii, which was 1 day's workman's wages. Okay, so if you received 1 denarius, you had worked 1 full day. And interestingly enough, in Matthew 20, Jesus breaks down the process of hiring. He starts in the morning when the sun comes up, and he says to these men, and here's an important part that I want you to lock into your brain. He says to these men, I want to hire you today, and I will pay you what is right. It's an important phrase. I will pay you what is right. And each of them are promised to receive the denarius, the day's labor. As he gets to the field about 9 a.m., third hour of the day, he realizes he doesn't have enough workers and there's more guys in town, so he jumps back in the wagon, he rides to town, he finds a bunch of other guys that are ready to work, and so he hires them and says, I'll pay you that which is right. And at 12 o'clock, he finds he's got room in his field for more workers, so he goes back to town, and you see the scene replayed. I'll pay you that which is right. And at 3 o'clock, he goes back to town to find more workers to pay him that which is right. And then strangely, the workday ends, let's say 6 p.m., that's the 12th hour. Strangely enough, at 5 p.m., he decides he could probably squeeze a few more guys into the corner of that field if he just had enough time to get to town and pay them. So at 5 p.m., he goes back into town and loads the wagon one more time. He goes, you guys want to work? I'll pay you that which is right. And he brings them all back. And as the 6 o'clock whistle to stop work blows, everyone lines up to receive their wages. And the 11th hour workers, the guys who just barely sweat enough to take off that outer jacket, walk up to receive their pay. Remember, they've worked about 60 minutes. And as they line up to receive their pay, they're handed their denarii, their 1 day wages coin. And the man standing at the back of the line, somewhere started work around 6 or 7 a.m., agreed to work for that which is right, elbows his buddy and says, did you see that? They're all making 1 denarius. I bet we're going to get more than we thought we were. I think when we get up there, we're probably going to end up getting 3 or 4 denarii. This was the best job we could have possibly taken. What a guy. And as the line goes through and 1 coin drops into the hands of each and every person, Mr. 6 a.m. back here has had all he can take, because his sense of unfairness is completely riled at this point. And the sense of unfairness has him feeling as if he is getting ripped off, even though, by the way, he hasn't even been paid yet. But he believes mentally, I'm getting ripped off because someone in this line worked from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and it looks like they're going to make exactly what I made for working 12 full hours. I want to read for you what Jesus says in response to this in Matthew chapter 20, and I want to start in verse 18. Matthew chapter 20, verse 18, Jesus, I'm sorry, not verse 18, verse 13. He answered one of them and said, friend, I'm doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarius? Take what is yours, go your way. I wish to give it to this last man the same as to you. Is it not lawful for me to do what I wish with my own things? Or is your eye evil because I am good? There's the question. Is your eye evil because I am good? Now, if we had not read Deuteronomy 15, odds are we would mess this up if we were handed the final. Can you explain to me what Jesus might have meant when he said, is your eye evil if I do good? Had we not sat through that little slice of Torah, we might not know what Jesus meant, but you did sit through that little slice of Torah. And based upon what we know about Deuteronomy 15, what is Jesus asking? He says, didn't you agree to work for 1 denarius? Isn't this what we signed up for? First of all, can't I do whatever I want with my own stuff? Good question. Can God do whatever God wants with his own stuff? Does grace belong to God? Forgiveness belong to God? Righteousness, favor, mercy, all of it belongs to God. God is asking in this story an amazing question. Can't I do whatever I want with my own stuff? Can I give grace where I want to give grace? Can I forgive whoever I want to forgive? Can I show mercy wherever I want to show mercy? Do I need to ask your permission? Do I need to make sure that they earned it? Do I need to line it up and make sure it's fair? Fair is a word we love. We think it requires that everyone gets the same thing, and yet God's response in this text is don't ask for fair, ask for my best. Don't ask for fair, ask for what I want to give. Ask for the favor that is good to the giver. And so he says, isn't it mine to give? Can't I give whatever I want? And then that great question, is your eye evil because I am good? And that thought to me means go back to the moment in Torah where I told you what it meant to have an evil eye. And what did it mean? It meant that you would look at someone and determine that they were not worth it. And Jesus said, have you determined that they are not worth it? And the answer, let's be honest, from these workers would have been, yes, that's exactly what I determined. They are not worth it. They didn't work as long as I did. They didn't, and in spiritual terms, they didn't pay what I paid. They didn't ask for what I asked for. They didn't fast as much as I fasted. They didn't go as much as I went. They didn't do what I've done. How dare God give them what God gives me? And I say to you, if you struggle today with accepting that God gets to be good to whom God wants to be good, and they didn't pay the price that you paid, I ask you, is it possible that your eye is evil towards God being good to those whom we wish God would be a little less good to?